Yeah, I mean, we're pumped. We're excited. We're gonna have a short workout here in a few minutes, and then kind of go through our keys of the game and or the series, and then really just get up there and compete and enjoy this opportunity because it's truly an opportunity to go play in a super regional setting, kind of face the challenges, go in on the road and see what we're made of, and just see if we can go out there and play pitch at a time and relax and have fun playing baseball at a high level. And I think those are keys that we're looking for is that just go be you, whatever it takes. If you're a intense guy, be intense. If you've got to be relaxed, be relaxed. There's not one specific formula for each guy to say, all right, I have to be just like this guy, or it's not a team formula. It's you got to be yourself. When we went into Sunday's game, we had our backs against the wall and basically said, it's another opportunity, but it's not a do or die game. And if you go in there with frustrations after what just happened and you play it as a do or die, you're going to struggle. So you have to clear your mind. And, hopefully we learn every day and we learn from last week and we go out and have a great weekend.
Appreciate that. Chris Tavares, go ahead and start us off.
Hey, David, just kind of piggybacking on those last two thoughts. Is there pressure going into this weekend because of the standings in the Big 12 and all that? And how similar will this weekend feel to that Sunday game against Tech? I
don't see any pressure whatsoever. The pressure would be something that we want to apply versus fill. And what I mean by that is playing our type of game and not creating pressure on ourselves. I mean, we're in a great situation, probably the best situation at this time of the year that we've ever been in. So now we have an opportunity to play for a championship, and this is a piece of it. And we have opportunities to play for 5 championships every single year. So you position yourself to have this, and that's what our kids have done. So I don't see any pressure, to be honest with you.
What number?
264. Thank you.
Go ahead, Danny.
David, after the game on Tuesday, Sean said he thought that was probably the best he'd seen Cole pitch in his 3 years at Texas. From what you saw on Tuesday, I don't know if you've been able to watch film on it yet, but what did you feel about that opinion, and why do you think Sean felt that way?
The angle of his fastball at 93 to 95 and located down in a way or commanded it. I think a big hurdle for Cole has been to overcome that one pitch that gives a hitter an opportunity, a chance to get a good swing on it. I mean, I told him after looking at, a few pitches in that outing, so you can literally go out and throw that pitch over and over if you could repeat it and do really well. So I agree with Sean. I looked at it. I thought Tanner Witt made a nice in-game adjustment because on the back end of his outing, he also had great down angle on his fastball. And so it's just a tough pitch to handle down the way at 94, 95 with that type of angle.
And then I guess until I looked at it recently, I hadn't really realized how good your team's walk numbers were. I think it's second in the nation now, behind only TCU. What do you attribute that? Is that just a bunch of guys, mature guys taking some mature at bats, or something y'all are really preaching to these guys, or what do you attribute that to?
We're not that mature when it comes to games under our belt as far as experience, but we're mature of being coachable and believing in what we're trying to accomplish. I think when you look at our team, at times I feel like they're too patient and they tend to get themselves in a hole. But I think the biggest key is they're not panicking with 2 strikes as much as, say, early in the year or teams that struggle that don't walk. I mean, we still have probably still too many strikeouts. But if you get past the weekend of opening weekend and you look at our free pass to strikeouts, it's getting closer and closer, not to 0, but the gap is getting closer. And I just believe that, good hitters are not getting themselves out early in the count. And I think we're doing a good job with that.
Dustin, go ahead.
David, anything on Ty's blister? I know you said it's something that he's dealt with for a long while now, but obviously it impacted his last start. How's that kind of, excuse me, I guess that maintenance going during the week?
They covered it up for most of his catch play. And we even suggested that he bumps to Sunday, and talked to him 2 days ago, and he said he's fine. It looks good. He's ready to go, and it's not going to be a factor in his mind. And if he feels like that, I'm all in with him. So he's good to go. I have not heard anything except positive feedback about it.
And I know you mentioned early on you want these guys to play with no pressure. And coming out of that Sunday game, it seemed like they were not satisfied or not accepting the results, but it didn't seem like, oh my gosh, we lost the series. Is that kind of what you got from them, that it's like, hey, we just got to get back to work, that's in the past, and we don't even have to think about that anymore?
I think when you look at coach speech, a lot of times it's about timing. I don't talk to our team every single day with some type of message. I felt like it was critical with a quick turnaround to just ease their mind that it's okay. And basically we went in the indoor and said, can't play frustrated. We're all frustrated right now. So we got to take a deep breath, and then we've got to go out and play, and not play to the point of do or die. And by doing that, you're always pretty loud. You're always a free and easy team that likes to laugh. If you're not doing that, then I'm concerned that we are trying to play this thing and forcing the game. So let's just go out there and relax and play the game. And then it didn't start our way, but fortunately Pete did a great job of getting us out of the first. We're down 2-0, and honestly, they opened the door for us when we scored the run on Ivan's triple E9. It almost like everybody took a good deep breath, and it's like, okay, we're fine, because it didn't start our way. And I was really proud that we just didn't panic and just continued to play. And I think that's what you have to deal with when you go to Fort Worth. You got to understand that they're a momentum team. They want to catch the ball and pitch. We need to play at our pace. When they get their offense going and they sense things, we need to recognize that and get back into controlling the tempo of the game. And so I think if we can recognize those things and control that tempo, I think it gives us our best chance.
Cameron, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, since going to Texas, I believe you're 1-5 on the road against TCU. I know it's a small sample size.
Thanks a lot for bringing that up, young man.
I'm just curious, is there
Any other good news?
Is there anything specific for, why they've been so deadly at home against you guys?
I mean, they're good at home. We're great at home. Last time we played them here, we swept them. No, it just has happened that way. We went in, what was it, 19, I believe. We were leading the game 2-0 going into the ninth, and Bryce Elder hits the leadoff guy, and it unraveled. So that's the point I just said to Dustin, is that we have to recognize those things. This team is a little bit different as well. Sometimes it's good to go on the road, be together, kind of the underdog, backs against the wall. And I think that's how we're approaching this one. I don't know if there's any specific reason. I lost a 22-inning game there in a regional as well. You want to talk about that one? We can talk about that one for about an hour and a half.
We don't want to get you fined.
I will get fined and maybe get even deeper than that.
Danny, go ahead.
David, could you refresh my memory? The 5 championships, is that preseason, Big 12, regional, super regional, and the World Series?
Yeah, I mean, it's regular season, tournament, regional, super, and then national championship. So when you look at that, you go, we worked our tails off to have an opportunity to be in this spot. So let's just go see if we can finish it. Let's go play it. We can't decide it by talking about it. We got to go out there and just execute and get into the competition. And that's all I expect them to do. It's not do or die, but we want to win. We're going to play to win, but it's not the end of the season for sure.
And then, as an opposing coach, what do you like about this TCU team, or I guess what scares you the most about this TCU team?
I think they're so balanced in their lineup, and they can create, they run. They're similar to us. I don't think anybody on their team or in their lineup is as fast as Mike or Eric, but I think they're balanced all the way through. Every one of them can give you a run threat. They do a great job putting the ball in play. So they force you to make plays. Defensively, they're fielding 979. They're hitting over 300. They've scored more runs than anybody in the country. So you've got a very solid, very confident offensive team against a very good pitching team. And then on the flip side, they have power arms, and they have interesting matchups, especially in the bullpen, where you look at the writing kid that's here, sidearm left-hander, which you don't see a lot. Then you have Halen Green, who's also dropped down, but really across his body, kind of crossfire. But both left-handed, we've done well against left-handers, which has been a great adjustment for us. We haven't been as good in the last couple of years. So I like that matchup. I think you got Russell Smith, 6'9", with down angle at you. The ball feels like it's on top of you. So we're going to have to work to cut down our strikeouts, put the ball in play, and put pressure on them. But I think they're very solid across the board. They do so many things well. We're just going to have to go play. When they pop us, get a little momentum, we just got to understand it, minimize, and keep playing.
Got one last one, Dustin, go ahead.
David, you mentioned that you guys are going to see a couple of lefties. What are your thoughts on left field right now? I know Eric has kind of been struggling a little bit, but he had that hard batted ball late in Tuesday's game, kind of had that great catch, but you guys have put Dylan out there a little bit, Porter out there. What are your thoughts about left field right now?
I mean, I've even thought about Melendez out there and adding another right-handed bat. But every time we go through this process, which we do frequently at times with different players, Eric has struggled. It's pretty obvious. But like I told Eric during the game the other night, it might have been Sunday. It was Sunday. I said, it's amazing, Eric, as much as you're struggling right now, I said, you have the ability to change a game. If it's laying out for a play, if it's going first to third that nobody else can, if it's taking a bag, tagging from third base. He tagged on a play the other day that I don't think we send anyone else or other than Mike. And so I have confidence in Eric's toughness and his ability to fight through it. So like I said, every time we need to make this adjustment, the four of us come back to EK. So pretty comfortable with him going out there and competing.
Hey, Tristan, what's the team's mindset going into this weekend in terms of dealing with the pressure, in terms of trying to win a Big 12 regular season championship? And is this weekend, given the circumstances and the standings, similar to that Sunday game against Texas Tech?
To be honest with you, we're just taking this weekend like any other weekend. The thing that I think we like about this team is that at the end of the day, it's just another series against a good opponent, and that's how we should view it as. I feel like we shouldn't feel like we need to change or do more or do less because of the circumstances we put ourselves in. But at the end of the day, like, this is the opportunities that we work for in preseason, and now that it's time to do it, just go ahead and do it. Don't make it a bigger deal than what it is.
Thanks.
Danny, go ahead.
Tristan, I asked Zach about this last week, but that 2018 season, I guess specifically, Cody's game against TCU, that Friday night game at the Dish, does that seem like that just happened yesterday, or does that seem like that was 500 years ago?
For me, it still seems like it was yesterday. A lot of the older guys that got to witness that, we still talk about it, and kind of it was this time this year where Cody seemed to have put it in another gear for us, and who knows, maybe we have one of those guys step up when it comes this time of the year on our team this year. So we'll see what happens.
And how does a kid from Missouri grow up to be, or how does he become, as Sean put it, someone who wanted to be the Friday night starter, a starter for Texas since he was a kid? How does that connection happen?
I honestly have no idea how it started. I just know I was always a UT fan. Of course, like one of the first moments I can remember is watching the Rose Bowl game with Vince Young, and I was going crazy in my living room screaming when he scored on that 4th down touchdown. But yeah, it's pretty surreal to be here, you know, especially for a kid from Missouri, where honestly, like no one really thought I'd end up here, especially like when I would tell people growing up that I want to play at the University of Texas, they'd always be like, well, okay, like that's awesome, buddy. But to actually be here now and be in the situation we're in, it means a lot.
Did you have a favorite pitcher growing up? Are you a Youngman guy? Like who were kind of your guy growing up?
It was definitely Mark Payton. And that was because I knew that he was not from Texas when he came in either. He was from Illinois. And I thought I was going to be a hitter when I came here. I didn't think I was going to be a pitcher. But to hear how I think he said he had a batting cage set up in his basement. And for me, that kind of gave me hope that like, hey, like I know there's a small chance, but there's a chance that I can end up playing here. And it worked out.
Dustin, go ahead.
Tristan, along those lines, we had Ty on here last week. He was just really praising your work ethic and how you go about, you know, building yourself to be the starter that you are now. Where does that work ethic come from? You know, you're describing Mark Payton hitting with the batting cage and, you know, in the basement or whatever. You obviously had to put in a lot of work to get here. Where does that come from, you think?
I think it comes from my family. More specifically, my brother. My brother's the person I look up to the most, and he's actually training to be a Navy SEAL right now. He leaves for San Diego in a few weeks, but because I always had him, I grew up with him. I didn't realize that his work ethic was considered working hard. For me, that was just kind of the standard that our family put. And I didn't realize that I had an elite work ethic until I got to be around other people. And they're like, hey man, like sometimes for me, I need to ease it up a little bit more so than turn it up a notch. But definitely, having an older brother definitely kind of set the tone for how I go about my business.
And what's it mean to you to hear, you know, Ty talk about your work ethic like that? And also Pete too, after his Sunday outing. I mean, he was kind of like, hey, I've paid attention to what Ty and Tristan are doing with how they get prepared, how much time they put in before starts. And I've tried to kind of follow their lead. What's that mean to you when your teammates are kind of praising, you know, the way you just kind of go about your business?
It means a lot because that shows me that, and it kind of shows that's just an example of our whole team as a whole with how we're all wanting to get better and we're all wanting to learn. So, you know, Pete and Ty, that's just an example of how like we feel as a team that if we want to learn or communicate something with someone, we're not afraid to. And I believe that's kind of how we are set up in the position we're in, just because we're not afraid to ask those questions that maybe those younger guys usually would in the past, you know. So just kind of setting up that culture. That's just a good example of kind of the culture we've established here.
Tristan, you're going back to your brother, you know, with, you know, him, Baby SEAL training, all that stuff. Does it get to a point where you can't complain about the workouts at Texas because he's just like, all right, you know, that's nothing compared to what I had to go through today?
Yeah, that's funny you mention that because before, on the day of my Oklahoma State start, he had to wake up at 2:30 in the morning to do all 3 of his different training workouts, which was running, swimming, lifting. And then he drove from Missouri to Stillwater to come watch me pitch and then drove back home so he can go to bed and make sure he gets his workouts in. So he told me to not complain that we had a doubleheader that day because he's been up a whole 24 hours just to go watch me pitch.
You know, when you looking ahead to this TCU matchup, you've obviously had a lot of success just throwing strikes, not walking, you know, a lot of batters. This TCU team seems pretty patient with the at-bats they take. What does that matchup kind of mean, throwing against a team that takes a lot of walks when you don't when you don't issue a lot of walks?
I just see that as another challenge, you know. We've already known that they're a disciplined team, but I think I'm a disciplined pitcher and I know what I'm capable of. And I'm not going to change how I pitch just because a certain team has a certain approach. I'm just going to do what I do and see how they adjust to it.
And last one for me, going into the season, you know, when did you feel that you could be, you know, a weekend starter? Was that something that happened in the fall? Was that after, you know, last season, you know, when everything kind of got shut down, that was your goal in the off season? When did you feel you could transition into this role?
I wouldn't say it was my focus was being a weekend starter. It was more so I knew what I was capable of and it didn't really matter what role I was in. I just knew that I was good enough to dominate at this level. And whether that was going to be as a reliever, like I have been, or as a starter, I knew what I was capable of bringing to the table. And I was given the opportunity to start, and I kind of just ran with it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tristan.
Sweet. Appreciate y'all.
Douglas, I imagine since you were in high school at the point it was a Friday night, you probably had a game. But do you remember Cody hitting that home run against TCU years ago? Do you remember? Were you watching it live? Did you see it later? I'm sure you're still paying attention to the team, considering who your family is.
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't know if I saw it live, but I've seen the highlights of it a bunch, and it was pretty special seeing it. Yeah.
You know, now that you're kind of getting to experience your first conference, race, how has that been? And, what is your expectations for a weekend like this against TCU?
I mean, it's been super fun. Definitely a lot of different games and non-conference, and everyone's trying to win and win dominantly. So it's been good competition. And for TCU, I mean, we're just gonna approach it like we do every other weekend. And I mean, growing up in the conference, I mean, knowing from my dad, TCU and Tech are the ones that we don't like especially. So it's just gonna add a little bit more to this series, which I'm excited for.
Dustin, go ahead.
Douglas, has it set in that you guys are this deep into the season? I mean, it's kind of flown by, and for you, I mean, it's, I think some people forget that you guys were here last year, but you didn't play a full season. Has it kind of set in that this thing's winding down a little bit?
I would say no, really. I mean, I haven't played this many games in my life, and it's kind of just been a blur. But just kind of taking it day by day has been helping. I mean, it's been fun too, so it's kind of flown by in that way.
And going back to the Texas Tech series a little bit, David was talking about, you guys can't play through frustration. I mean, how do you think you guys handled that, and how important was that result, that final game 3, to kind of get out of there with a win and kind of show what you guys are capable of?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a weird situation playing that game, and we lost and kind of having to switch pretty quick into the next game. But we had a meeting before and kind of talked about how there's a difference between being frustrated and kind of pissed off. We wanted to take a mature approach, which I think we did, just seen by the results. But we kind of came together and we're like, okay, we may have lost a series, but we can still win this game, and it's going to mean something maybe in the long run. So I thought it was pretty good to see by the team, just kind of our attitude and how we played.
Danny, go ahead.
Douglas, do you know if your dad has any fun TCU stories? Have you ever hit like a walk-off homer against them, or has he told you any story about the Horned Frogs?
Not about TCU. I can't recall anything specifically with TCU.
And what has been your thought about the approaches you guys are taking at the plate? You guys are taking a lot of walks this season. As David mentioned, your strikeout numbers are kind of still higher than he'd like. Overall, just kind of what is your thought on the approaches you all have taken at the plate?
I mean, I think it's progressively gotten better. I know a couple weekends ago, Oklahoma State, Tech, our strikeouts have been up a little bit, but just trying to be a little bit better, runners in scoring position, attack earlier, not get deep in counts. We're still working on that, but I think that's been better. But really just trying to have quality at-bats every at-bat and not giving any at-bats away. It's kind of been our theme. And I think we're still working on it, but I think it's been better overall.
Anything else for Douglas? Great, thank you.